unlike Charles, or Charlie, as all of us close friends like to call him, we have prepped for this race and we will actually partake in this episode of the podcast. It's lights out and away we go for episode 126 of the Eaton Asphalt podcast. All right, so we got the Ferrari news out of the way. We don't have to talk about that anymore, huh? I think that's done for the podcast. Outside of that, there was a lot of, whatever. I'm leading this one, so we're just going to skip him over. I think that sounds fun. It hurts my heart if we didn't, and you wouldn't like that. But outside of that, I think there was a lot of fun things going on, a lot of differences that we haven't seen in races prior to that. It was just like a little bit of breath of fresh air at Brazil and Sao Paulo.
Yeah, I mean, the main one was that people almost died because of the weather. Almost, people almost got decapitated. That was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's always the worry for the driver's safety on the track. But, back-to-back races. You had Ferrari fans almost got their head knocked off by Mexican fans 2 weeks ago. Now we have actually like grandstands falling apart and landing potentially on people in Sao Paulo.
Yeah, Mother Nature this time rather than just like fans.
Yeah.
Good flavor always. That was actually that was a fun race. Like I feel like we've been having like good races. That was a fun race to watch. Started off in the very beginning, like just like entertaining through the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't just like, hey, the beginning was fun and then it blew out and that was it. It was like throughout the race there was like interesting things to keep you entertained up until the very, very last lap. So that was awesome.
Yeah.
Like we said on this episode of the podcast, it's just a 1-for-1, not a 2-for-1 this time. We're going to just be talking about the Brazil Grand Prix. We got our good, bad, and ugly, our gambling paddock, race recap, and race predictions recap. So starting with our good, bad, and ugly.
All right, good, bad, and ugly for me. Let's see. My good, I'm going to say, I know what I'm going to say. Lando Norris, easy one for me here. Pole position for the sprint race, which I know that doesn't really count, doesn't really matter, but it's like something. Like he was the fastest during qualifying session. 7 podiums on the season, not bad for a guy whose standout performance before July was getting P6 in Australia. So this man has been on a podium tear. It's been 5 out of the last 6 races he's been on that podium. Very fired up for the next season if this momentum continues. Like even that fight with Max, like that back and forth that was, not like a real fight, but it was kind of, it wasn't just Max like completely pulling away. That was like, all right, next year, there's always next year. We can maybe be able to do something. Get Lando's first win. Who knows? I might be saying something crazy, dude, but Lando Norris is my good, no question.
Yeah, great. Yeah, I mean, throughout the entire weekend, he was running hot.
He's balling. My bad is going to be Kevin Magnussen. So do you remember last time in Brazil, Kevin Magnussen snuck away with pole position in that
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It was terrible weather, right? It was just
Yeah. He was just like zipped in like right before the rain came down and everybody like no one had any response to it. So pole position for Kevin Magnussen. And then he doesn't even get down to the first turn before ending up in the wall. His race lasted like 11 seconds, I want to say. Didn't expect him to do much starting from P12. Definitely expected him to complete more than 0 laps, I'd say. That was like, I would have bet a lot of money on that. Good thing I didn't. My ugly, I'm going to say Mercedes. The Sergio and Lewis battle for P2 seems like it's kind of over. Like Lewis always needed a lot of luck to fall his way. Now he needs more of like a miracle to fall his way, like to get into P2. We do still have some good battles to look forward to. That was kind of like the main battle that I was excited for. It was like, all right, well, P1 is decided, but we do have this fight. We have other battles. Fernando is only 3 points ahead of Lando, who's only 3 points ahead of Carlos. So that P4 to P6 is good. Logan Sargent is only 1 point behind Liam Lawson for the battle for P20. Anything could happen. So
who knows?
Yeah, dude. I mean, he's gotten points recently, so who can say he can't do it again, dude?
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
but yeah, I think like that just kind of sucked because it was like, Lewis and Sergio going to be fighting. Sergio starting like kind of down the grid, didn't have a good qualifying, but Lewis is going to he'll cut that lead, but here we are. We just have to take it.
Yeah, a weekend to forget for Mercedes for sure.
Yeah, tough one, but that's my good, bad, and ugly.
All right, nice. All right, my good is going to be buzzer beaters because not just in basketball, folks. We can do it in Formula One too for the first time in for as long as I can remember, especially this year, probably a little bit last year. We had a near photo finish for a podium spot, not just for like battling like P7, P8 or something like that, and not even before that, multiple laps of back and forth ended by a .053 victory for Fernando Alonso. It just kept, like we said, from beginning to end. This kept you like the announcers, they kept the shots where they needed to be on that fight. Back like a couple seconds to Max and then back. Like this was a fight that they wanted to show. We got to see it through the end. And honestly, the way it actually ended, I couldn't see like the straight where the line end, where the checker flag was. I thought Perez got him.
Yeah. No, I did too. I mean, you would have figured like, all right, he's got DRS, he's like quicker car overall. I thought it was going to happen, but I'm glad it didn't. I'm glad Fernando deserved to be back on that podium.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. My bad is going to be Machine Gun Kelly because poor guy had one of the most cringeworthy grid walk interviews, and with Formula One's own Marty Brundle, this would be maybe, what do you think, top 25 awkward for Brundle, since he always finds a way to make things like kind of creepy and weird. Like, it's not to be the worst. We see this every year. We see this multiple times a year. This is like another knock for him. But it was up there. It was tough to watch. Didn't love it. The only thing that I think that really came out of the conversation, outside of him asking Machine Gun Kelly questions and him being like, I don't know what you just said, was him asking him to do an air piano while he did air guitar, which was shout out to Brundle for saying, no, I can't do that. I usually make fun of other people. You can't do that to me. And then Machine Gun Kelly the next day was like, my anxiety, I can't go out in public like this. I would just assume that there's maybe a couple other things that were causing him some trouble having a normal conversation with a person than just anxiety. I don't know.
Potentially. No, I mean, knowing his background, maybe.
He just seems like a guy that indulges and more than anxiety.
Yeah. More than his anxiety, anti-anxiety meds. He's
probably maybe there was some suppression of anxiety, which maybe been the reason, not the anxiety itself. But who knows? My ugly is going to be, yours was K-Mag. Mine's going to be Haas, a little bit different off the race this self, but they've officially submitted a review for the U.S. Grand Prix, which they submit Red Bull, Aston Martin, and Williams, as Haas lodged the right of review, with the team believing that multiple track limit infringements occurred in Austin that were not registered. So potentially altering the outcome for post-race penalties when they weren't enforced. Obviously, this is true. We saw multiple angles of these cars going way off the track, completely missed. I agree with them. I agree what they're doing, but I don't think I've ever seen something a couple of weeks down the line being like, hey, we're going to actually change the U.S. Grand Prix finish and get some points. I know with them battling, for these final spots, these are millions and millions of dollars of like changes and finishes that they're going for. So I don't blame them for doing it. It just seems like it's unfortunate that the FAI messed up, and they're not going to go back and change it.
It's kind of loser talk a little bit, where it's just like, yeah, dude, kind of like move on. Like we already.
I agree. It's like a pass interference. I mean, remember the Saints a couple of years ago, clear pass interference. They went to like Congress. They went to like the U.S. Supreme Court to be like, we got to replay this game or something. It's just, it's unfortunate they missed it. You got to move on. I don't blame him for trying, but yeah, it was just it's a tough sight.
I would do the same thing, but I would know all the while like, oh, I'm kind of being a bitch right now.
Yeah, just being like, yeah, okay, like we get it. You lost. So that's my good, bad, and ugly. Let's move on to our gambling paddock. All right, I'll get mine out of the way. Tough weekend for me, but I was playing conservative. Both McLarens finished in the top 6. Half of that. Piastri had a tough weekend. 1 unit there. Danny in the points, tough weekend as well, half a unit there. So I lost a unit and a half from 452 down to 422.
That's all right. You didn't gamble. You didn't risk much. You didn't lose much. That's good strategy.
It was kind of good.
You're up right now. I lost both McLarens finishing the points. Kind of thought that one was going to be a given.
I thought that was like for sure. Yeah.
That was a big of a bummer. One Ferrari on the podium didn't help me that Charles Leclerc. I
kind of went out the window. Yeah.
Made sense. I was just nah, that sounds about right. But I did win Stroll to finish top 10, which were my longest odds. So that's a big win for me. And then Max to win. I was just loading up on the sure bet here. So on the overall positive on the weekend, up $5, baby.
Nice.
Smart.
All right. Yeah. Huge weekend for you. That's our gambling paddock. Super quick. On to our race recap. All right. Pre-race. So we obviously had a sprint race weekend. Sprint race itself, it was pretty fun. Lando, like we said, Lando was just in pure form all weekend. Him and Max were battling, a couple fun. I feel like a few times here, they're like, is he going to pull this off? Is he actually going to pass Max? And then, just time heals all wounds, and Max is going to show everyone, no, I'm actually going to win this. But it was pretty entertaining for the short, sprint race that we had. All right, and then moving on to quals itself. Quals was interesting to a degree. So all top 5. So going into Q3, no major shakeups. The top 5 teams, all their drivers made it. So no kind of Haas, Alex Albon kind of sneaking into Q3 that we've seen every now and then. Pretty standard there. The weird part came in Q3 where it just ended quite early due to some just torrential downpour, crazy weather that they had to cut quals out early. This allowed Aston Martin to lock out the second row, which was something that I don't think we would have had on our race predictions, like wild card prediction, anything like that. This was probably well above being like, this is astronomical. This won't happen. Stroll got P3, I believe, which was fantastic for him after all the hate he's been doing. And then honestly, I know we'll talk about them a little bit. Sunday, I was expecting, yikes, like this is a very luck shot in the dark that this happened. Did all right on Sunday as well.
Yeah, the race pace was much better than I thought. Aston Martin, I mean, we'll talk about them, but holy cow, actually, let's just talk about them now. P5, Aston Martin, 25 points on the weekend, 261 points on the season. Fernando starting P4, ending up on the podium in P3. Thank you, Charles. Lance Stroll, P3, ending up P5. I don't know the amount of money that I would have bet for this not to happen. A top 5 finish for both of these guys would have been, I probably would have bet my left arm or something. And I don't know what that's worth, but P3, P5, half of the last 8 finishes between these guys. So the last 4 races, half of them have been DNFs. So 4 of the last 8 finishes between the two. Lance did not look like a slow piece of garbage like he's used to doing this basically this whole entire season. And then Fernando, first podium since the first race back from summer break. Like where was this? Like I'm sure I do you think like Daddy Stroll is happier or more upset that this just has not been around for the last, I don't know, 5 months?
I mean, I feel like all teams a while ago stopped doing upgrades, but there had been a secret upgrade that we weren't told about because these were completely different cars than we've been seeing.
Yeah, they must have just. I know this is not how it works, but I want to know if one of their engineers was just like, guys, what if we just went with like that old car, like the first car that we made, just put it back out there, see how it does.
How long? They didn't have much time to figure it out, like to turn around, but they did something. They had to.
Yeah. And good on them because it worked. And much better result than I would have ever imagined in my wildest dreams, given their last, half of a year of performance. But good on them. P5.
We'll see. If I'm a betting man, I feel like this is more like a big surprise weekend, but I'm not expecting to see anything like this in the last 2 races.
Yeah, I don't think so either. They got lucky with Charles, and so no, definitely not. Better not do it.
Don't. Oh yeah, that would be. I mean, first of all, for them to get P3 and P5, I was like thinking, oh, they're gonna make kind of a fight for this P4, and they came out being a point less than what McLaren did.
Yeah. Thank you, sprint race.
Big time. Huge. Speaking of McLaren, P4, 26 points on the weekend, 282 points. So 21 points above Aston Martin. Probably pretty good out of the race on the battle for P4, P5. It could have and should have been McLaren on the front row for Sunday. Like we said, they were just quick all weekend. Lando was quick all weekend. He might have been fastest driver, to be honest. But Lando Norris, P6 up to P2, at Oscar Piastri, P10 down to P14. Piastri just struggled in general. Like, I think he was the first to admit, just being like, I see what Lando's doing. I know I got to be there. He just wasn't, unfortunately. If somehow Lando DNF, though, they would have dropped. So they would have been either neck and neck or like just above or below Aston Martin on this weekend. So this was crucial that he actually did well.
Yeah, thank God. Needed him.
Because yeah, I mean, one team's upward trajectory, if we're looking at the past 1 week, and then, that would have been fun, though, right? We don't have really like 21 points. We have another 20 points from 2 to 3. There's a chance, but an unlikely chance for both of these to actually see change up. It would have been nice to see, like, hey, we're battling for something here in the top 5.
We're on big time DNF watch. A DNF with these top 5 teams.
It changes everything. Yeah.
DNF and a good result from whoever's chasing them is going to be what needs to happen, and that could happen. Of course, that
could. It could. It's Formula One.
All right, let's talk about Ferrari. P3, 13 points on the weekend, half as many as McLaren in P4, barely over a half Aston Martin's points, but more than Mercedes. So you're cutting the lead more and more.
We did cut it. So that's something.
13 points on the weekend, 362 points on the season. Carlos Sainz, P7 to P6. Charles Leclerc, P2 to DNF. Very unlucky. 13 is an unlucky number. It's the number of points they got. And Charles Leclerc is an unlucky boy. Maybe the unluckiest driver to sit behind the wheel. Jury's still out. You can't do anything, man. It's not his fault. It'd be different. I would feel way different if he locked up into a corner, like on the formation lap or something. It's like stupid like that. Seems like he didn't really, from what I'm reading, he didn't really have
the hydraulics.
Yeah, it was just hydraulics. What are you going to do with that? You can't fix that yourself.
I just kept hearing that, and I was like, all right, sure. They went out. Okay.
All right, dude. Like, if that's what you're saying, that's what I'm.
Can you not drive on hydraulics?
Sainz looked fine. Yeah, Sainz looked fine. Bad quality position, so that was tough. Only made up one spot, quicker than Mercedes, but I think he was slower than Aston Martin, McLaren, and Red Bull. So I think overall P6 is right about where he needed to be. Pretty tough opportunity though for 20 points to Mercedes, like who's ahead of them. That could have been a fight, like going into these last two. It's not to say that it won't be, but who's to say if a Mercedes isn't going to finish this race? I feel like when was the last time Lewis Hamilton didn't finish a race? Can we get our stats guy to look that up? Stats guy just sent me in that the last time Lewis hasn't finished a race. Oh, his disqualification was one, but he's finished every single race this season. Nope, Qatar. Right before disqualification. Thanks, stats guy. You're fired.
Do your job, dude. You fucking idiot. All right. So my question too is it a DNF or was it a DSQ? Because he didn't start, right?
Who are you talking about? Charles?
Yeah.
I don't.
And the only confusing part too. The only very confusing, and it doesn't see. So Formula One rules, very confusing. I'm going to be honest, and it doesn't seem like the announcers or the guys that are like their job is to know these rules also know the rules. They are too complicated. When Charles went out and then the red flag came up, they were like, "Can Charles come back in? Can he get the car in the garage and can he come back and go on?" I was like, "How the fuck does this happen?" They're in lap 3. He hasn't even started. And they weren't sure. It obviously ended up being like, you can't, or the car wasn't good enough. Like the car just wasn't in shape to do it. But very confusing. I don't understand the rules. And it seems like a lot of people, at least a couple times a year, there's something weird come like this, and they're like, I don't know, like they all kind of disagree on what their thoughts of whether something can happen or not.
Yeah. So I think it's a DNS, like did not start, which is for those.
Oh, that's what. Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
But as far as like coming back in, like it would be kind of cool if like you had.
Did he have to catch up 2 laps though, or does he start like, hey, we just grandfathered you into lap 3?
Yeah, it's just like
I don't know.
Hey, no one say anything. We're just gonna. He's had a tough couple of weeks. We're gonna let him run.
Because all right, so you go red flag, right? In a normal race, you're halfway through the race. A couple drivers are a lap behind. Red flag comes on, they're back on the same lap. I would assume that that's Kaposh.
You got my vote.
I don't know. Yeah, it seems like I was pretty excited. I was like, there's no way he's gonna come back. No. All right, moving on to Mercedes. P2, 11 points. So, like we said, pretty tough weekend for them. 382 points, exactly 20 points ahead of Ferrari. Lewis Hamilton, P5 to P8. George Russell, P8 to a DNF. I mean, it was a very, very tough week for them from the entire weekend. Just had no pace. Car after car, they were just getting passed by, I mean, obviously teams around their same pace with ease, though. Every single time there was no fight, there was no defense. It was just them going on. And then teams that could be way, way worse, teams that you should not allow to be being passed by them. Alpine was flying through them. So just overall, like there was something seriously wrong. I know Toto got on the mic, on the radio after, just being like, there's no excuse. Like, we don't know what happened. We have to get back and figure out what the hell happened. Hopefully they don't figure it out, though, because like we said, it makes for more fun for the viewer. And then, yeah, George retired about halfway through the race or so. And I mean, it just, the way that car was, he wouldn't have gotten any points anyway. So I think it was a smart move. Just be like, save the car. Let's move on. Let's forget this week happened and move on next.
Yeah. God forbid something did happen, and then, got to replace parts or something, and all of a sudden George
started the back of the grid or something.
Ferrari zipping up toward the front. Yeah. I mean, my only thing that I noticed about Mercedes was like George was getting chippy. His engineer was telling him to save tires. He was getting raced by someone behind him. So he was like, do you want me to race or do you want me to save tires? And they were like, save tires. He was like, are we racing? It's like, yeah, we're racing, but you need to save your tires, guy. And
this isn't a sprint race. Like, this is a longer race where if you race now, you won't be racing later.
He was also getting chippy when he was behind Lewis, and it was like he was, on fresher tires. He was like, I haven't been on the radio in a while because I thought it was obvious, but I have more pace. Like Lewis should let me through. So it was just like a salty George, a little salty guy.
Frustrated weekend, yeah.
But I mean, I get why. Just they were slow. They were slower than they should have been. So they need to get back on it, or else my buddy Marco and his Ferrari boys are going to get that P2.
Give me that money.
All right, let's talk about them quickly. Red Bull, P1, 51 points on the weekend, 782 points on the season. Sounds ridiculous to say. Max Verstappen starting from pole to finish P1. Sergio Perez, P9, making up 5 spots into P4. Very entertaining finish, like we said. Outside of that, the only other entertaining thing from Red Bull was Max singing on the radio. Felt a little insulting, to be honest. She's like, hey man, don't rub it in that you're faster.
Yeah.
Like he's gonna, again, we've talked about this before, but let's have him do one of those like drunk goggles on his visor. Let's make him race with that. Let's have his no radio is another idea.
His daughter has to sit in his lap while he races.
Okay, no seatbelt. He's secured. She's not. He has to hold on.
He has to hold her with one arm. Yeah. With blindside her, Hold
it. Like that. Maybe they play. Maybe we other teams get to control the radio. Do little mind games on him. Like, hey Max, come into the pits on like the second lap.
Yeah. All the other teams spend the next 2 weeks finding a voice that's very similar to GP, and then they come on the radio and he's just all out of whack.
Is that like that's not impossible, right? Like you can like tap into the same radio frequency. It's not like you can close out a radio, can you?
I don't think you can. Like no other team could reach out to a different driver though.
I'm saying
like I think
a hacker, like a radio hacker.
Okay. That like they're cheat, like they not like by choice. It's like they're breaking the rules kind of thing.
Yeah, maybe sneaking
Yeah.
messages like, "Hey, he's right behind you. Go quick."
Slam on the brakes.
Break. Someone on the track.
No,
Speaking
I
of
like
people on
that.
the track, dude, I guess people from the Sao Paulo Grand Prix track were summoned to the stewards. Like the track folks were summoned to the stewards, like people in charge of the track, because
Hmm.
of pit invaders. We
Oh,
can't have track invaders. We can't do people sneaking onto the track with these cars that are going 350 kilometers an hour. That's gonna end in one of the same type of videos that you send me on the internet of people just getting murdered.
I don't know if I don't know. Seems pretty has a lot of retweets on those. I bet this has a ton more, huh?
I mean, big bit more viewers.
Yeah. I mean, people are gonna start tuning into Formula One if you keep seeing people die, huh?
Maybe that's what they start doing. They just start murking people.
Oh, Death Race, dude. Death Race, Jason Statham. Fantastic movie.
All right.
I'd watch it. The only other thing that I was going to say about Red Bull was obviously we all know about how great of a season that Max has had, history, all that. I think now he's officially, no matter how he finishes in the final two races, he'll have won the highest percentage of races. So I think the highest was 75% of races. If he loses both, he still wins 70. He's won 77% of the races this year.
That's a bummer.
And if he wins both, I think he's up to close to 90.
That sucks.
So maybe higher, right? The only person has been old Carlos, right?
Carlos and Sergio.
Yep. Yeah. So 21 of the 23 potentially. That's nuts and hurts.
Yep.
But hey, all these new car upgrades the last couple of years, they're supposed to make racing more competitive, right?
Yeah, dude, that's awesome.
Yeah. They
Have that.
fixed it. They fixed the sport.
Good job, guys.
All right. Well, that does it for our race recap. Onto our race predictions recap. I'll go first. I'm done. Ian, you can go.
I got Max as a winner and Max as pole. We suck at this. That's it.
So it's 35-24 now.
35-24.
Two more races.
Two more races.
You pulled a 2-point gap.
I did.
There's a chance.
Here's my strike.
You did use your max. I don't think you can use that anymore. So
yeah.
You're gonna have to find them elsewhere.
I might petition the FIA to let me use Max for the rest of the season. I'll let you know how it goes.
It's pretty corrupt. So if you bartered with them with something that's worthwhile, I'm sure they'll cave.
Okay. I'll think about it. I'll think about my offering up to the FIA.
Yeah.
Tough year, dude. Tough year. Gambling predictions. Not good. We need that.
Whatever, dude. Whatever. I mean, no one predicted how lopsided this year would have been. It happens to the best of us.
Whatever. We have a week off. We have a week of a rest, a weekend off before we go to Las Vegas. Thank God.
So excited.
I'm
so excited.
I mean, we don't have a lot of we don't have too many battles on the grid, but we do have Las Vegas. I'm just excited to
it's a spectacle.
One of the more interesting off the track stories. Tell me about what's going on races. As far as just oh, did you see these celebrities? Did you see this? Did you see how much it was to sit here? This is going to be an exciting time to be a podcaster. Thank God they did it at the end of the season when we don't have a lot else to look forward to.
Yeah, it does seem like this is probably going to be a one and only type of thing based off of everything I've seen. It looks like it's a catastrophe right now in Las Vegas. Apparently hotel prices have dropped 83% in some hotels. People trying to get refunds. Things are going crazy. One of the grandstands collapsed, or they couldn't finish. They're not going to finish it in time. So there's a lot of mayhem going on right there. So many other people the fountains can't be seen in the main parts. So a lot of people are pissed about this. There are a lot of issues operationally going into this. So it doesn't seem, I'm hoping it does, because it's not my problem if I went and visited and you're not having to travel at all. You're there. And if you want to go somewhere right after, there's everything you want, your mind can imagine, blocks away from you. So hopefully this stays. Hopefully it's the first time in a major thing like this. They get the kinks out for next year and we're good. But it seems like it's a problem.
Sounds like we got a lot to talk about in our Grand Preview for Las Vegas then.
Yes. And for next year, if hotel prices drop, we got to just wait till the week before to buy our hotel prices, and then we're fine.
Let's do it. All right. Well, man, now I'm excited to record again. We'll do it before the Las Vegas Grand Prix. Everybody enjoy the weekend off. See you, assholes.
See you, assholes.
Hey, thought you could leave without saying goodbye.
I used to say I lived my life a quarter mile at a time. And I think that's why we were brothers. Because you did too.